Welcome back to the Pursuit podcast. After a long siesta, Kim and I are finally back in the studio. Arman Bashiri is a former men's soccer player who started his college journey at Anderson University in South Carolina. After 2 seasons in the Southeast, he packed his bags and moved to Bloomfield College in New Jersey. He has since taken his master's in finance at Drew University and has now lived and worked in the US since 2020. Great to have you here, Arman.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's nice to be back, and it's a killer episode, I feel, in the making. It's obviously, it's June, and, part of having you as a guest on the show is also a big part of your journey. It's not just a soccer, student-athlete background, and of course we want to hear about that, but it's also about you being, I would say, quite brave. You're a gay footballer, and that has been a big debate, in many places across all different levels. And you've been outspoken and I would say a very good ambassador for how things should be done. So we'll touch on that, of course. But this was important for us, Truls, that we wanted to, like with every episode, figure out, hey, how's Arman's journey? Just like everybody else. So we'll go back to the beginning, Arman, because I helped you to the States. You were a young, hopeful footballer back then. But out of all the things you were, picking and choosing from, why did you end up wanting to go to the US?
I don't really know why the US. I think one of the main reasons was just to get away. I knew from I was 16, 17 that I didn't want to study in Norway. I wanted to get out and explore. I was just so restless, I guess you could say. And at the time I didn't play football or soccer at a high level. I think I played in like Division 5 at the time in Norway. I remember speaking to you about it, and I just really needed to get away, and I thought, why not use football or soccer as a leverage to get where I want to, or achieve what I want to achieve.
Yeah. But I mean, you took yourself down there a little bit, I would say, in terms of your level. You come from a solid upbringing in Norway when it comes to, it's not just Division 5, it sounds low, but it's not. I mean, you ended up there before you went, maybe, but of course, you don't need to be a superstar to go to the US and get a soccer scholarship, and you got obviously kind of paid for going over in the end, which was great. But I remember you in your process showcase, that was part of it, right? We at that time we had our main event in Stockholm in Sweden, and you traveled over there, which. A cold November weekend. But how did you find that experience? It's something different, something new. We don't typically have those trial showcase events, especially back then when it was quite new, especially with showcases. That wasn't something we kind of started in Norway at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the November after the season ended, I think, and that season I think I had quite a few games in Division 3 under my belt, so I had obviously more experience coming in. But I remember being super excited about the showcase. I just really wanted to show what I was all about. But personally, for me, I think it was a little bit of a mess because the night before I got really sick. The night before the showcase, and I was feeling terrible the following morning, and I tried to push through, and I don't even think I was able to finish the whole game, but I feel like I did a decent job at it, but yeah, all in all, it was a great experience. Just so cool, just traveling to another country to play and just show yourself.
Yeah, I remember the timing of you getting was it a stomach bug or something the day before? I mean, but of course that you take some mental toughness to get through that, right? And of course physically you had to really fight through because we had another podcast guest in one of the earlier episodes, one of the first ones we did with Stian Sanner, who you actually got to know him quite well during the showcase, and for him the showcase was like he didn't have any video. This was before games were really filmed at the rate they are now, and it was like pressure on to really deliver, and for him it was like super important to be ready. But it was like that for you, but you managed to pull through in the end with performing.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, I had because the following season I had, or the season that just had finished, I had quite a few games in Division 3, so I was able to film some of those, and I feel like I had some videos, but there were, I had to ask my brother to go film it with a camera, just holding it the whole time. So it was, the quality of those videos weren't the best. So I knew going into the showcase that I really had to show myself and really get something out of it.
Yeah, that was good. But you still, because relationships form, right, within our wonderful sport of soccer, and you kept in touch with Stian ever since.
Yeah, it was funny because we were on the same plane going to Stockholm from Oslo, and I kind of noticed him there on the plane, and then I saw him on the train as well. So we just ended up chatting, and we were like, I saw that he had a bag with him and everything, so I could tell that he was going to the showcase, and we just started talking, and when we got to the hotel, we ended up splitting a room just because it's cheaper, and we just started chatting, and ever since we kept in touch. We even ended up playing in the same conference and meeting each other at spring break and New York a time after that. So yeah, it's definitely some of the things that I didn't know that I was going to get out of going to the US.
Oh, no, it's amazing. I love those.
I was just about to say
connecting the dot, connecting people, right?
That's Kim's definitely the highlight of your job is getting people connected together. Did you feel like now we have, of course, a showcase every year, a lot of players that wants to go. Did you ever feel the pressure playing a showcase, or did you just think I'm here to have fun? I'm here to show myself.
No, I just for the show, I didn't feel pressure much. I just knew that I had to run a lot and show that I'm trying and I'm not going to give up. And I think that was like the main thing that I try to focus on in the showcase. Other than that, like I don't know, like the pressure wise, I didn't feel the pressure at the time. I think I was also quite young and naive as well. I was 18, I think at the time, so it's been a while. But no, I was just excited for the showcase. I just wanted to show what I was all about and just do a good job.
It is a very American thing. At least us Europeans would say that, to kind of you have to perform at your best at the showcase event. Is this something that you think is a positive when you went to the States? That kind of mentality. Should we have more of that in, say, Norway or Scandinavia or UK or Europe?
Yeah, I mean, I quite like that mentality because we don't really have that in Norway. It's quite different. At the same time, especially in college too, it's always high pressure because the season is so short. You have games every 3 days, so if you don't perform a couple games, you're gonna miss out a chunk of the season. So the pressure is always on.
And I would say you from my experience as well, you get a bit mentally tougher, by playing in the US. I remember, just a quick side note, like my coach during my time at college, like if he didn't feel like the players delivered or didn't run enough, they were out of the team, and that was just, it could be mid-season. So I'm not saying every coach does that, but thinking back and looking back at it now, it's almost 10 years, but it's I think I grew a lot from playing in the US just on the mental part of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Me too, for sure. I mean, as I said, like if you don't play if you're out for a couple of games, you're gonna miss out, like 5% of the season, So it's always, the pressure is always on there.
What about your your network back in? You're from Løvenstad, just outside of Oslo. What about your network there? Were there many others thinking about the US route? Did many others do this?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think I started pretty early on. I think when I got in touch with you, Kim, I don't think there was a lot of. I don't think I knew a lot of people who was going over, but I think the year after we had a couple people from Lillestrøm, like the local teams coming up, like Peder Kristiansen, he came, Sondre Carter, they all came. But in my team as well, I think I was the only one. When I played in Strømmen, I think I was about me and this other guy as well that I played with. We were the only ones going to the US. But now, it's a different story now, right? I mean, completely different story.
Yeah. You were one of the pioneers from Rælingen videregående skole to show the way. Yeah, no, but you can see that it grows, right? You get people from different parts of the country, and you see it in Norway, you see it in Sweden, where it's traditionally been even more common to go to the States from a country like Sweden. I think it's the fourth or fifth on the list in terms of international students playing in NCAA Division 1 and Division 2, which, Sweden is a fairly small country, but actually in terms of numbers of student athletes, it's huge. More than, say, Italy, the Netherlands, maybe even France, right? Which, the bigger places. And Norway kind of catching up to Sweden. And you and kind of your generation, now we're talking like that is like, oh, back in my day. But it's, what I mean, that you were part of, early adopters on doing this. And after that, it helps to have ambassadors that show that this is possible. And obviously you've done a lot with your opportunity here, which is exciting. So you graduate, and it's time to get on the plane. What about your family? How was it to leave them behind? Although it's not that far away, and it's a 4-month semester, so you're gonna see them soon. But how was that?
It was definitely a weird feeling, especially because I have an identical twin brother. So that was probably one of my weirdest goodbyes, because I was so used to I was side by side with him for 19 years, and then all of a sudden I'm not going to see him for 4 months. It was definitely weird, but I don't know. I think for me it was such a nice balance, because especially in college, because you got to go away for 4 months, come back for a month, and then come back, then go back to the US for 4 months, and then you had 3 months off where you could go back with your family. So for me, it was really the perfect combination, just given the fact that I really just wanted to get out and explore. So that was, and it always having those breaks always forced me to come back, which was great.
Very interesting with, twin brother. I mean, we do help siblings that go together. We have helped friends go together, but we've helped quite a lot of twins go together, and they've always wanted to go to the same school. And obviously you're such a tight bond there, but so this is maybe an anomaly that you kind of broke away and did your own thing. Did you talk to him a lot about that?
Not really, because we didn't add. When we were late teens, we never really opened up to each other like that. But it's I don't think it's a conversation I've had with him yet. But it's I don't know. It's more natural than it has been, and I still talk to him every day. Luckily we weren't born 30 years ago, where we couldn't do any FaceTiming or anything like that. So that definitely helps. But I don't know. It's still, although it's normal, it's still a little strange not seeing him every day. Still, although it's been 7, 8 years now.
But before you ended up in South Carolina, do you remember if you had a few options that you could choose from before ending up at Anderson?
Yeah, I mean, we had. I was very adamant with Kim that I wanted to go somewhere warm. I wanted to experience that warm climate. And I think most of the schools were in the south. So we had, I think, I was close to going to University of Alabama Huntsville in D2, and that was pretty late on. I want to say, if I remember correctly, and they had one of their current players, Colin, wanted to move on and transfer, so they had to reallocate their budget to find someone in his position, and so the message I got pretty late, was that they couldn't sign me after all because of that incident. And then there was another school in Alabama as well, and another one in South Carolina, D2. So it was mainly in the southern states. But yeah, I ended up going to Anderson mainly because of the financial. I think that was the biggest thing or biggest factor for me in making a decision. I just wanted to go where I was going to be paid the most, because in my view at the time as well, again being naive, thinking that the best offer is probably going to be the place where I'm going to be appreciated the most. So that's how I made my decision.
So you said you wanted the hot climate, and I really did deliver on that, because when you flew to Greenville, South Carolina, how was that? The wall of heat when you stepped off the airplane there.
No, it was total shock. I mean, especially coming from Norway, it's like a climate that you've never ever experienced before. You just step out, and it's just, as you said, it's like the wall of heat that just hits you. You can't even, I don't know, it's tough to explain if you've never experienced it. And then on top of that, having to play soccer in that weather as well, it's just next level.
I think I warned you, but of course it gets nice when you're into October and you're used to it, and you're playing in great temperatures, right? But it is something different. The south in the U.S. with the humidity and all that, and pretty much every soccer playing student athlete we've had on the podcasts have also been like in shock with that, right? But of course your body adapts. But tell us about Anderson. How this is deep in the south in the US. It's on the East Coast. Culturally quite different too, of course, than what you're used to. But how was it to step on campus and kind of see how everything works there?
Yeah, so I mean, Anderson is 40-minute drive from Greenville, South Carolina, which is upstate, 20 minutes from Clemson. Just to get an idea of where it is. And yeah, I mean, I went to a Baptist university, not knowing what that meant at the time. Again, being naive, like not being aware that a Baptist university in the US actually means religious university. Because in Norway, you think of religious school in Norway, and it doesn't get to that extreme, especially not from my understanding. But yeah, stepping in, campus is beautiful. People are really nice. It's the South, so everyone's going to be very polite and nice to you. And luckily, I had my teammates a lot of them were international. So we had students from Australia, Germany, South Africa, you name it, France. And it automatically gravitated more towards those people. But it was definitely a shock. I remember just moving forward just a little bit. First, when the semester first started, I remember we had to go on every Wednesday. We had to go to chapel, and like do like I don't know what it's called, like a prayer thing. Clearly I'm not religious at all, so obviously I don't know the word for it. But I remember that just took I was sitting there with the German guy to my right and the Australian guy to my left, and we're just looking at each other like, what is this? It's just the most shocking experience of my life. But other than that, it was very interesting, very fun to step on campus and seeing something completely new for the first
Yeah.
time.
But did you learn anything from those Wednesdays where it was like the whole school gathered with a certain subject, and I guess some of it could be religious aspects, and sometimes it's more about current events, etc. I mean, what did you take from those?
If I'm being totally honest, the only thing I took away from it was that I wasn't going to graduate from Anderson because you needed credits you needed chapel credits in order to graduate, and I knew that I'm probably the least religious guy you'll meet, so I knew that I wasn't gonna graduate from Anderson just based on those credits itself. It's that's the only thing I took away from it.
Okay. Yeah, it's but then of course you did transfer out in the end. But it took you 2 years, right? So you must have liked the south and the climate so much that you, and I guess the teammates, that you it wasn't straight away. Hey, I gotta find somewhere else. What were the big positives down there?
Big positives down there, especially my teammates, for sure. Those are teammates I still talk to today. We're planning a trip together after all those years. So I want to say my teammates number one. Also my classmates to some extent, because they were very polite, even though they, I did see some issues with me being gay. But they still accepted me and took me in as their own. And then just that tight bond, because when you go, especially when you go to school in the south, in the middle of nowhere, really all you have is each other. So you spend so much time with each other, and yeah, definitely the people.
But and I agree with you, because I was in the middle of nowhere in the south, not too far away from Anderson. I've played at Anderson. I actually got badly injured at Anderson right before my parents came for a week to watch 3 games. And like you said earlier, if you get injured, you're out for for a big chunk of the season. So that was just at that time. So bad memory there. We won 1-0 though, just for the record. But my hamstring went in that game. But of course, it's important, right? The people you gather yourself with, Americans, internationals. It's important that there's a good click there. And you talk about it being a Baptist university. I mean, that's the affiliation. Some schools obviously are more, say, more religious than others and more requirements. Anderson's one, more requirements than others. But you coming in, being gay, and also for you telling people that you're gay. How was this for you? Was it difficult?
Yeah. So I think a year and a half prior, I'd just come out for the first time. And when I came out in Norway, I think I was 17, 18 at the time. I was always very adamant about being laid back about it and not making it a big deal. So, the first time I came out, it was a huge deal because I came out to my closest friends, and then came out to my mom a few months later. And then after I came out to my mom, I told my friends, hey, I'm not going to make a big announcement. If you guys want to tell anyone, go ahead. I don't care. I'm not going to, make it a big deal, because I just really wanted to show that being gay is just nothing. It's really nothing. And especially at the time as well, in 2014, a lot of people always had this stereotypical vision of what a gay person looked like. So I just wanted to make it as normal as possible for people, because it also makes them process that better. So when I came to Anderson, obviously I knew that I had to come out again, because I told myself before I went to the US that I'm not gonna hide for anyone. I'm done hiding. I've been hiding for 17 years. I'm not doing that anymore. And yeah, I knew that I had to come out, and I had to figure out how to do it. So yeah, I ended up telling my roommate who I dormed with my first year. I think I told him one of the first nights, because we were just talking about girls. And I always wanted to find a good way to tell people, in the right moment. So when we talked about girls, I was like, yeah, listen, I don't like girls. I like guys. And then I told a couple of my dorm or suite mates, so people who lived in the same hall that I played with. And then from there on, I was like, okay, how am I gonna tell this team? It's I never come out to an actual locker room before. Back in Norway, I came out to individuals, and then they told others. So I was like, how am I gonna figure this out? So it was funny story. I remember our team captain, after one of the preseason sessions that we had, we went back into the locker room and we were just blasting music, and he turns the music off, the team captain, and he just goes, guys, listen, I'm gay. And obviously he was joking. Everyone started laughing. And then once the laughter kind of like simmered down, I just told everyone, guys, listen, I'm actually gay. And then they started laughing again, but then I had to reassure them several times that it was not a joke. And a lot of people, we had a lot of people from the South too. So a lot of people just genuinely did not believe me. They were like, wait, you're so, you look so hetero. How are you gay? I'm like, okay. Yeah. So it took a lot of convincing. I had to, for several days after, people were still asking me, are you sure? Like, were you just joking? I'm like, no, I'm actually gay. Because I think for a lot, probably all of them, they've never met anyone in a soccer environment before who's gay. So it was definitely a shock for them. But I've never had any issues with any of my teammates. Everyone embraced me, especially international students. Having them there really helped, because they were really the leaders in the group. And for them to show that it's not a big deal, really it really affected the other people, especially the younger American kids. That really helped. So yeah, overall, for just in terms of the team dynamic, it's totally fine. It was great.
Oh, what a good timing to take it. Hey, here's my. I wouldn't say he rolled out a red carpet for you there with that intro, but you took it. I mean, it takes some guts to do that, Arman.
Thank you. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's different too, because when you're actually gay and you've been living with a life ever since you can remember. It takes, I don't know, I'm just really doing it for myself, just doing it for myself, because I know that once you come out of the closet, it's very, very hard to go back in it. Like even now, I can't even imagine a life where I'm not totally honest with myself and with people around me. So yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously, you created relationships at Anderson. You lived in South Carolina for 2 years, middle of nowhere in South Carolina, you can maybe call it. And then, you move up to the Northeast, to New Jersey, Bloomfield College, 30 minutes outside of New York City. How's that experience?
That was great. I loved it, being able to live in a more liberal area and having New York City right next to you it was great. I mean, the difference was a huge difference from Anderson. At Anderson, you only really had each other. You had Clemson you went to, and the activities were very much the same every week. And then you come to New Jersey, where you can really just pop into the city whenever you like. Just take the train. It takes 40 minutes and you're in. So yeah, definitely a huge difference.
Was it different coming out in that locker room? Because you might have to do it again, right? When you were changing school. Was that a different experience from coming out in South Carolina and Anderson?
I mean, that was, at that time now, this is my junior year. I have been out for 3 or 4 years now. And, I have that experience under my belt, if you want to put it like that. So coming out was very comfortable. I didn't think about it much, because, the last 3 or 4 years I've been completely open about who I am. So coming out at New Jersey in New Jersey at Bloomfield was really not a problem at all. I remember the only reservations I had at the time was that we had a lot of Jamaican and African teammates, and just my perception of how they view LGBT or gay people in general was, is very, very negative. So that was the only reservations I had. But again, I just knew that as long as I make it as normal as possible, it'll it'll help other people see that it's not really a big deal. So again, I think it was more casual this time. I just told them straight up, like, listen, I'm gay. And then they had a whole conversation about it. And everyone were okay with it. I think it probably also helped a little bit that I was one of the team leaders on that team, which, probably helped me out a little bit. But, I didn't really no one really had a problem with it. And we ended up always joking in the locker room about me being gay. Like, I would always joke about it myself and tell them things that they didn't want to hear, and had a laugh about it.
I love how you maybe take something that's maybe a bit frightening to people because of the unknown, and you normalize it, and you're just one of the boys, right? And the banter is part of why we're playing sport, and I think a perfect way to normalize that. And kudos to you for that, Arman. But it takes courage to do this, and I hope you with this can inspire many others that, hey, it's actually is not a problem. But you said you were a leader there, right? You did 2 years. You had quite a bit of injuries. You weren't a regular because of that. In terms of games started, and of course when you come over to the States, you want to play as much as possible. And but you got the change when you moved to Bloomfield. And you started scoring goals. I mean, how did you feel? Was that a confidence thing with this as well?
Yeah, definitely. Because at Anderson, I didn't have any. I played primarily right back at Anderson, so I didn't really. I ended up 2 years with 0 goals, 0 assists. So for me, coming into Bloomfield, I had more of an offensive role. I played more winger and striker in my senior year, but it definitely helped, because I remember I scored the first game against University of DC. We played in Wilmington, Delaware, and we won 3-2, and I scored one of the goals. Came back from behind, and that definitely gave me a confidence boost. And then the second game, I got an assist. So definitely at that point, when I have 2 goal involvements in 2 games, I'm starting to think, okay, like maybe I should actually try to focus on really scoring goals here, because that's how I can make an impact.
Yeah, goals and assists, they count those in the US, that's for sure. Maybe clean sheets if you're a defender, but even there, if you score goals, it's sometimes worth more than not allowing a goal for some reason. But I think the mental side of here, right? For you, there's a lot going on. But you also have your academics. I mean, you were studying business finance. How did you manage kind of to juggle all your roles? Because I feel like there's much more pressure on you than others here. Did you feel that?
I didn't feel the pressure. I think I nailed that study athletic piece very early on. At Anderson, I remember my first semester was tough, because I didn't have a system for studying, nothing. It was tough. I think I ended my first semester with a GPA of 2.6. And then after that first semester, I really nailed how, I got a better understanding of how the US school and the curriculum works. You get grades based on mostly your homework and exams. But as long as you do your homework, you're gonna do fine. So I went from 2.6 GPA my first semester to a 3.6 GPA in my second semester. And after that, I'd never had any issues with school, because I always made a priority to do all my schoolwork during the week. Always try to get it done Monday, Tuesday, and then I could just chill for the rest of the week. And that really, really helped me, making sure that everything, all the assignments, all the homework was submitted. That was like my main priority. And then the exams came almost secondhand, because I knew obviously I did well in the exams as well, but I just knew that as long as you do your homework and assignments, you're gonna be fine. So for personally for me, I never had an issue with the academics, and it was mostly, you know, I could, because of that also I was able to focus more on the soccer part.
I feel like there's a lot of people that have been in in these shoes that you've been in, and Arman. I remember that myself. Like the first semester for a lot of internationals and maybe Americans as well are, you know, learning how to do all with time management. That's like, you know, the slogan. You have to learn time management. And when you sort of like get a hold of that and understand how they do it in the US, I felt like, you know, me playing soccer and also studying helped me do better in both, you know, the athletic part and the academic part, just because I had to, you know, wrap my head around it and I had to stay focused on two things. So, like you said, first semester, you know, you just have to get into it. And then after that, I think a lot of internationals feel that they're handling it a lot better, which you're also going to bring in, you know, after you've graduated as well, right? You know, having to do several things at once.
And of course, there's the cap and gown moment, right? You graduate in 4 years, so that was in May 2019. You get your bachelor's of science in business administration and management. It's a big moment, right? To go up there and receive your diploma.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, making a big deal in the US, you know. And it was fun. I had my family come over. My mom, my brother came over for the first time, you know, throughout my 4 years there. So that was very exciting to have them come and see the campus and meet, you know, my professors and my coach, and you know, all that was fun. And yeah, I mean, it was just very, it was a lot, because especially for me, I'm a very laid back person. I don't like the big things, so I felt a little out of place, but it was definitely fun.
Yeah, it's a milestone. But your parents or your family, they weren't really successful trying to lure you back in to come home, right? Because I mean, obviously you're still in the States, but you weren't done with the US journey at this point.
No, I didn't really. So I ended up doing my master's, and I didn't really. That was it was a decision I made that same year. I never really imagined taking a master's in the U.S. I was just gonna go straight to my OPT and work in the U.S. because I knew I wanted to stay, at least for the first term. But I ended up doing my master's in finance, which benefited me in the end.
Do you think it was an advantage because you obviously worked several jobs in the US within finance, and of course your masters there set you up, but do you think it's smart to jump straight into a master's, or in hindsight could it be better to get some work experience and maybe then do a master's to know maybe a little bit more about how let's call it how the world works?
I think it really depends. I think one of the main reasons why I chose to do a master's right after graduating college was because of the job opportunities. I felt like they were very slim coming from Bloomfield, and also I didn't do enough groundwork before graduating, networking and making sure that I was set up for those job opportunities. So I knew that getting a master's for me would not only give me, a leg up on my resume, but it would also enable me to network with more people, and talk to the professors who knew more people in the industry.
Yeah. What about internships? Did you get experience through that during your time studying?
Yes, I had an internship during my master's. I interned at a private equity firm as an associate, where I got to learn a lot, and at the same time I didn't have soccer, so I obviously had time to do it. And that was my main internship during the year.
Yeah, but you can see you do your masters in New York at Drew University, and you're in the city. and you really take advantage at that point. Probably nice that you were, well, sad that you're no longer playing soccer, but there's a time for everything, and you have much more time to take advantage of everything that big city has to offer.
Yeah, I mean that was the plan, but then COVID hit during that year, and I was stuck.
Forgot about COVID. Yeah, I did forget about COVID.
I was stuck at home so we moved all our classes online, and I saw my classmates for the first couple of months, and then for the rest of the program, I just communicated with them online.
How do you cope with that when you're so far away from the experience than you thought? I mean, luckily you got the internship and got that ticked off the list. But then you're kind of by yourself then in a. I guess, did New York become like a ghost town?
I was actually in New Jersey at the time, and I was with my boyfriend, so at least we had each other. But I think I'm very good at adapting, and I think I'm very used to it, just based off of the last 4 years, even as a college athlete. And I think that really helped me adapt to the situation I was in. I was able, my primary thing was getting through the program and graduating. And then luckily, we live in a time where we can communicate with whoever we want at whatever time we want. So it was those factors really helped me just push through that period.
Yeah. And you landed great jobs within finance in New York. You've been to Fort Lauderdale. You're in Maine right now. Things are going well for you. Will we ever see you back in Norway, Arman? Not not just on vacation.
I don't know. I mean, luckily right now I have a fully remote job where my company doesn't even have a physical office. So luckily I'm also doing my green card thanks to my boyfriend. I'm applying for a green card. So hopefully in the future I'll be able to work more from Norway. But when it comes to living, I don't know. When it comes to living in Norway permanently, I'm not there yet. Maybe in the future, but I don't even know if in just the U.S. I want to explore more of the world. I don't want to just be stuck in the U.S. I want to be able to live other places and embrace those cultures as well.
Wow, it's nice to think back that a little showcase trip to Stockholm in 2014. And then that was an important first step into now sitting at a nice summer house in Maine, having a really cool job in Super Social Incorporated. So I guess take advantage of everything. And do you plan far ahead, or you take it a bit one step at a time?
I don't tangibly plan ahead. I'm a firm believer that if you just put in the work and you just say yes and try, good things are going to happen. So it's worked out for me so far. I don't see it not working out going forward. So yeah, just keep saying yes and just keep pushing, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah. Well, you're inspiring a lot of people with what you do, and I'm glad we're able to tell your story. And we are in June, which is an important month for the Pride movement and the LGBTQ. I was going to try and say this correctly, and I didn't. LGBTQ. It's harder in English than in Norwegian, where I normally say it. So, but what do you think is key to I guess to raise more awareness about and maybe normalize, that some people are maybe not exactly like you are. What do you think is key?
I think one of the key elements for everyone to remember is just being very careful with the words you choose and the conversation you have with friends, because honestly, you can never know if the guy next to you is different, is gay or whatever. And I think that's one of the things for me growing up that I heard on a daily basis. Even I use gay as a slur. But even just like those conversations that you have with friends, just just be aware, because you honestly never know if someone's going to be gay or not.
Arman, I think you're amazing. I think you're brave. Your story inspires me. I hope we can inspire more people, not just about how brave you are with coming out and normalize that and help people, but also your story is amazing. So thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure, and good luck.
Thank you. This was fun.